everyone, and welcome back to another video on Lumber Capital Log Yard. Today I'm going to be going over some of the differences between a Wood-Mizer LT15 and a Wood-Mizer LT40. Why those specific machines is because we have them both here and I could show you in person. I think that this will be some valuable information for anybody who wants to buy a mill but doesn't know which one. Both these Wood-Mizers are technically home-ownery. The 40 is getting up there, but one might work better for you and save you a little bit of money if you can go with the 15 versus the 40 or something like that. You don't want to spend money on something that you don't necessarily need and go above and beyond and get this extreme machine that could produce a lot, but you don't really need to produce a lot. But then it also works vice versa. So today we're going to be going over what some of the differences are. And if you guys are interested in watching, stay tuned. Some of the differences that you'll notice in these two machines were actually just options. So for example, the LT15, you actually have to walk with the head rig, and I'll show you that here in a second. It was an option. You could have gotten the controls to actually just move with the head, so you have to walk with it, but we got the stationary one. But again, that was an option. So of course, the bigger machines come with more options. The 40 is definitely an upgrade, quite an upgrade from the 15, let that be known. Here is our LT15, and as you can see, it's on the ground, whereas the other one's raised off the ground. That is actually one of the reasons why we bought this mill, is because it is closer to the ground, so you can handle a lot bigger stuff that you really don't want to be picking up off the ground. You can place logs right onto this. I guess you could with our 40, but it's under a cover, so you can't really do that with how we have it set up, at least. And this is our lap sider that's on it here, if anybody's wondering what this piece is on here. That's just what we use to make the lap siding. And the LT15 has a crank, so it's a lot different. You have to crank it back. You have to manually push it. It doesn't move on its own. You have to manually push it back and forth. Not a big deal, but it can get tiring, especially if you're just running back and forth all day. If this is, something you want to do and work every single day on it for hours, that will get tiring, definitely. This is the mill that we started out with when we first got the business, or started the business at least. And so the boss was on this when working on this basically all day, and that's how we supplied our entire log yard with lumber, with this machine. Kind of crazy, although not this exact machine. We actually rebought it. Well, rebought a new one. So this is the control station for the LT40. A lot of you guys have already seen it. A lot more complicated than the LT15. This also has hydraulics, and we have the super hydraulics. So hydraulics move at a decent speed, not compared to the 70. When we if we do ever upgrade our mill, which we probably will, we'll get a diesel instead of a gas. But this is a 38 horsepower engine, and the 15 that we have over there is just a 25, so it is a little bit bigger of an engine. What else do we have here that's different? So many things, but what to discuss? We have the debarker, was just a option. I think it was like $2,000. It was one of the more expensive options on the mill, and I definitely think that that's necessary. The lube miser was another option, but we got that for both the mills, and that's definitely a necessary option. If you guys are interested in purchasing a mill, I definitely suggest getting the lube miser for an option. And like I said, we have that on both the mills. It's a little different how each one works. This one, it's just a switch that you flick on the control station, just right here. Literally all you have to do is flick a switch. Well, you have to make sure that it's on up here, but with that one, you just literally have to manually turn it on, off, which is fine because you're walking with it. So one of the reasons, again, that they had it like this was because if you're not walking with it, then you can't just reach up and turn it on or off. And to conserve water, you really don't want to just leave it on. You want to try and turn it off and on, off and on. You can't just really leave it on. Trust me, you guys, you'll go through a lot of water. Another thing that's a little different between the two mills is this one allows you to monitor your blade tension, and it actually even says what it should be on here, between 2,800 and 3,000 psi. It does go up and down by itself a little bit. It does adjust itself, but this way you know what it's doing instead of just kind of blindly guessing at what might be happening, because there can be a lot of issues that happen with the blade tension in general. So I'll show you what the other one looks like now. Over here, it's way different. So how you tension the blade on the LT15 is just literally like that. Super easy, way more convenient, but again, you can't monitor just how tight that is. So you know, you could come up with the issue that your blade's just too loose, and you wouldn't know without being able to see that. But every time you change the blade, you have to unreel that whole thing and then reel it back in, and it takes a lot of time. So not as convenient, but it might save you a little bit of trouble trying to figure out what the heck's going on with your blade sometimes. So I don't know, that's just something that you guys have to decide for yourself whether you think that that's worth it or not. So all the dogs on these, or little arms, whatever you want to call them, all have to go up manually. And they can be tight, they can be kind of hard to go up and down. Of course they have to be, otherwise you don't, like, they just fall down, so they kind of have to be hard. But you'd be constantly picking these up and putting them down to keep the log in place, whereas on the 40, it's just hydraulics. A simple lever lifts them up and down, all of them at the same time. Now that you have seen and heard some of the main differences between the Wood-Mizer LT15 and the Wood-Mizer LT40, now is your time for real decision making when you hear the price difference between these two machines. The 15 goes for just over $10,000, whereas the 40 goes for something like $35,000. But the drawback of hearing that number, $35,000, is that this machine really isn't as useful to you unless you have some really expensive options added on. And so by the time you're all said and done, this machine costs $40,000+, more like it. So I think that that's really valuable information for anyone going into wanting to purchase a mill, because that's not going to be your end total at all once you're all said and done. Anyways, I hope that you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please give this a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. But other than that, I'll see you guys next time.